And we are Shiny Side Out on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. You'll find that's the website name. Now, and it is home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations, and you'll find not only those in the chat room, but both Meki and I are in the chat room right now. Crowd goes wild. It's a great place to get your merch. That's the website, not the chat room. Can't buy the chat. You can't buy any merch from the chat room. You can't. But it's there in the website and helps support the website because this is listener funded, and it is very important. You know, you can donate. There's so many different ways of doing it, but if you buy something, you get something back in return. You know, it's the way I do it. Now, Meki, I don't know if you know this, but this is show number 620.
20 and 600.
And did you know that you can catch us on air, online, and anywhere on your smart device? So grab an app to listen, or you could just sit at home with a Gray's Tabletop digital radio with your feet up. They owe us a radio each, you know.
Do you think?
There's like 600 shows, I think, or more, where we mention Gray's Tabletop digital radio.
All the radios.
I did reach out to them. I got nothing in reply. So I think they're going to say, what do we do with this? I've never heard of this. Sure. Okay. Now, do you know what? The archives are free. And that helps, because if you've only just tuned in, you missed a great show that's just been on. And that's Solaris's Cyber Witch Cafe with Niche. And Solaris, of course. And awesome show, always great. In the chat room, Davesky says, thanks Solaris and guest for a classic show. Blessings, good night all. And that's the way it is. But if you don't know who we're talking about when we mention Solaris, you can just jump in the archives and download a whole bunch of her shows and listen to them in your own time. Like, you don't have to tune in at the same time. It's not like old school radio where your whole family is glued to the radio and all quiet because they're listening intently. No, I don't know whose family does that anymore. Not even radio or television. In my family, everyone's in a different room consuming their dinner, watching whatever platform or playing a game or doing anything, right? We did those shared experiences are minimizing. So the chat room is here, the archives are free, and now, Meki, you probably have guessed already, because we talked before the show, you probably guessed already, I'm broadcasting out of Bundjalung country. Meki, where are you?
I'm in the country of the Daruk people.
And we pay our respects to elders everywhere on the planet, past, present, and future. Wow. I remember, Meki, when Russia began the invasion into Ukraine, and you'll smell the segue here in a minute. And they said to their own people, this special military operation is about killing Nazis.
Nazis! Kill the Nazis! What? Oh, sorry, wrong accent.
Kill all the Nazis? So what?
Give them another gun.
I thought you were doing Siegfried from Chaos then for a minute.
That's right, baby.
We do not do that here. So that's, I thought, what a ridiculous statement that is. I'm sure if you Googled neo-Nazism or something, you'd find a Wikipedia page somewhere, Wikipedia, that would say, here's all the towns and here's all the groups, all the, the members of the groups, or the, what do they call it? Chapters, right? From around the world. I thought they'd probably be everywhere. They're probably even in Russia, right? So what a pointless exercise I thought that was. But no, I was kind of right, but why are they just going after the Ukrainian Nazis when they do apparently appear to be everywhere, Mickey? Because
these are the Warsaw ones. They're the Warsaw ones.
They wear the tan outfits like the ones from Animal House, the movie, right? That was so funny. I love that movie. But this is weird because we had our train system here that goes into the city from the northern side of the city of Sydney's harbour. That was stopped yesterday as someone on the train said there's all these people all wearing the same outfit that was just black pants and t-shirts and hoodies.
Oh, they're goths, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they weren't just looking down at their feet with mascara on, so maybe not goths. They didn't have black fingernails, right? Red wine, the song. But they've slowed the train down, had a full police operation, and then manually extracted them from the train against their ticket. The ticket says they were due to go somewhere else, but no, they had to exit the train there. Now I thought that was over, but what happened today? A couple of stations earlier, they were found in a park assembling. It was around Artarmon, and they got bailed up again. So I think in Australia we've passed some laws that there's some things you can and can't do, and one of those things you can't do is do the hailing sign, I suppose, from the Nazi Party. You're not allowed to do that salute, yes, and you can't assemble because you're going to be up to no good, clearly. And it's kind of like Queensland. You're not allowed to be in a bikers group. Doesn't mean you can't be. You're not allowed to be a bikie. It's illegal. But you're not even allowed to be in a group that shares the same interest in riding motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's laws against that now in Queensland. So, you know what? If they were going to if they were going to cause harm or disruption, so if they were going to protest, because in Australia you need a permit to protest. If they were going to protest and they didn't have a permit, that's unlawful activity. Riding a train, well, it's kind of not, unless they were, abusing other people, doing unlawful acts. But you can buy a ticket and ride around all day. The homeless do it. There's a lot of homeless on the trains. So what's the deal? How draconian is this? Or am I missing something? I'm sure missing
apart from a couple of chromosomes. No.
Am I supposed to have 48?
Too soon. Yes, I know.
Too soon.
Too. Yeah, if you need another couple million years before it gets.
Get some more. That's it. We'd have fewer because we went from 48 to 46, from hominids to sapiens.
We did. No, look, the thing is this, right? We have... we're living in times that are both uncertain and full of fear, right? Where the uncertainty, of course, is the more important part of any control mechanism. And people are looking to feel more certain, right? So they assemble, they start to do things that aren't quite maybe what's in agreement with others, but at the same time you have to contend with what is the majority parasitic culture that you're living in, meaning you have to keep law and order intact, because law and order is not for you. Law and order is to make sure that those that have keep, and those that don't have not have, to ensure that and anybody who threatens the power structures, it doesn't really matter what color or belief system or configuration it takes, doesn't matter. If it threatens the power structures, then the measures will become increasingly draconian. And we see this with everything today.
I know.
We've seen quite significant changes in the way that the police deals with, a whole range of things. I mean, okay, simple example. Every second story I hear about the police, someone's going to get tasered or shot.
That's right.
Okay? I mean, there's a lot more of it now. Maybe I just didn't know, but certainly never a lady in a Zimmer frame, you know, that is approaching 90. In the 80s or 90s, when I first came to Australia, I think that's completely unheard of. I mean, it's unthinkable even. That just wouldn't happen. But it is now. It is now because in the West specifically, but because we're mostly in the East and in other countries which aren't as democratic as the West thinks it is, the police force has always been militarized. And certainly when I went to Turkey as a child, I remember machine gun nests on every second street corner.
Wow.
Back in the 70s. There was a bit of troubles, as you might think. But we've seen an increase in militarization of the police force. With that comes a certain... So it's not just equipment that has changed. It's because with that comes an attitude.
Yeah, the ethos, right?
Right, exactly. So, if I've got armored vehicles and assault weapons that would make D-Day blush, then maybe that's who I am. Maybe that's who we've become. So we should act like it, which sounds insane in some ways, but it isn't really insane because we have an increasing need to control the population. Right?
So Mickey, I'll give you an example, just for everybody. When I was a kid, we might have played cops and robbers. So if you give one of the two children that's going to play, you give them a bag with the $sign on it, and you give the other person like a set of handcuffs. They're going to adopt those roles immediately. And that's what play is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you armour up a police force, then they behave in a certain way because of their protections.
Yeah.
And I agree. Now, I'm not saying it's right, because I don't want any trouble with the police. Let me tell you, I just don't want trouble. I avoid trouble at all costs, and if there was anyone anywhere in the whole world that would stop at a set of lights 1,000 miles away from any city on a road with a crossroad, and there was a set of lights and I hadn't even seen another car in a day, I would still stop and wait for them to turn green, even if there was no other traffic. Right? Even if I had to turn right, I'd still put my blinker on, even if there's no other traffic. Right? So, and that's what I when I look at it, I do sometimes think of the sheeple's version of, well, it's okay, Mickey, because I don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And that perspective isn't correct. It might be temporarily okay for you, the sheeple who responded, but how long will that be valid for? And how long is it before that the perimeter shrinks until you are doing something wrong?
Correct. And the thing is this, right? If you're being, and we've discussed this before, if you're being pulled up by the cops, stopped by the cops, beaten up by the cops, then that's probably the way it should be. that's what?
He says that now.
Because, well, clearly the cops would never do anything wrong. They're completely, they're there to uphold the law. So clearly, right? By that definition, that's what's in almost everybody's mind too. By that definition, you must be at fault. You have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how could you not be? They're cops. Now, funny thing is, this most indigenous people, and this is topical, of course, just having had Australia lately.
Yeah.
Most indigenous people know that's complete nonsense. It's the opposite.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? Because they know they're going to get picked on. They know they're going to receive treatment that they probably don't deserve. Right? Are they angels? No, they're not. They're not angels. Of course not. That's stupid to think or say. But they there is a what is it? There's a predilection for police forces globally to go after people that are brown and black and or beige, even, right? And that's in every country, interestingly enough. Even if the country is predominantly brown or black or beige or whatever, there's always a minority which is, beiger or blacker or browner than the others, and they get the short end of the stick. It's certainly true in every Caucasian majority country, 100%. 100%. And by Caucasian, I'm not referring to a specific genotype. I'm just talking about people that have a fairly light skin. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's just how it is, and mostly because the light-skinned people came along and lorded it over the darker-skinned people for quite some time now. Recent history. No, it hasn't always been like this. Don't get me wrong. Okay. And they didn't like it. And but the only way you can keep control is by keeping the people down. Keeping the people down. And in fact, the people that helped the oppressed, that happened to be white-skinned as well, for argument's sake, they got it worse than the dark-skinned people, because they were race traitors in the eyes of those folks.
Oh yes, the ruling class don't like that.
Don't like that.
No, that's right.
So increasingly we've seen this is a funny thing. I watched I want to say it was either New Zealand or Canadian, a police drama, and like a regular television show, right? Now you watch any police drama that comes out of Australia or US, UK, even Europe, it's all people shooting bad guys, like cops shooting bad guys, etc., etc. This cop show, and now it was either Canada or New Zealand, I don't remember, I'm sorry, but this was a local police chief in a small town that there was not a single shot fired. This was all about relationships, and he went around and talked to people and see how they were and tried to diffuse situations.
Sounds like New Zealand.
Probably, it might have been, right? And you go, what? Where's the car chase? Where? How come nobody's got shot yet? What's going on here?
It's the calmest of all of the shows.
Yeah. Look, but the thing here is that, of course, well, you can't make a show like that and then have it played because the people would say, I don't believe it, that's just nonsense. Whereas in that country, wherever it might be New Zealand, then clearly that probably is maybe the way things are. That's the way it is. And you go, oh, what? What? You don't shoot people immediately? You don't taser them, even if they're like 90 years old in the Zimmer frame. You don't do that. In fact, Scandinavia. That's where it was. It was a Scandinavian drama.
Wow.
Now I'm getting it. Haha. It was Norway or Denmark. I can't remember. Yeah, that's what it was. And you go, oh, right. So how do you deal with your problems? Well, that's how we deal with our problems. So we make sure the problems don't become problems. And of course, it only works in a small community, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the truth. But and that's, I keep saying this, we should not live in as large communities as we do. We shouldn't. It's just not for us, right?
There was a country, Mackie. There was a country that didn't want people to be in prison. And they don't want people to rot in prison. They want to reform them and get them back into society as a regular person again. And
think of that for a second. What?
Yeah, that's right. So instead of it simply being a punishment, they were actively reforming people to come back to society and be active members. Holding jobs and being what we would today call just a regular another person in society that was non-discernible from anyone else. They were, honest, and they were earning money and taxes and all the things that we all have to do. They were doing that, and they said there was no value in locking people up because it cost money. If we can get the person to turn around and realize what they'd done was wrong and get them back into society, then we're earning money. The society prospers. And they said that the amount of people that were rotting, let's say, the people that you come across when you're in prison, unless you're a kingpin, all right, everyone is worse than you.
Yeah.
And so you'll only adopt their manners, their mannerisms, and all of their activity. You'll learn more about, the evil side of society, the downtrodden side of society, the people who were given no choices in life, or all the choices they made themselves led them down the wrong path. Maybe they weren't the worst person in their society, right, in those groups.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they ended up in prison for, misdoings. So that's how they were looking at it. And I do forget the country, but I watched a documentary on it, and they said, because still government-run prisons, the less people in there, the better.
It's labor. A lot of countries are looking now to prison as a labor source.
Oh yeah, because that's right. It's the privately funded. Ones, absolutely, 100%.
And what do you mean labor? Well, we got all these prisoners, and we get them to do things, and that's what happens.
So making dog tags, for instance, and license plates.
Yeah, all kinds of things. And look, I can't remember. It was a Russian writer. I don't know, it might have been Dostoevsky. It might have been another writer, but he said you can judge a society by the way it treats its prisoners.
Mm.
I want to add to that, you can judge a society by that and by the amount of people that are actually in the prison.
Yes.
So, and America has the highest relative percentage of
prison population to total
per capita, right? And of course, the population in there is made up of disproportionately large numbers of brown, beige, and black people. Again, same as in Australia, no difference at all. It's the same old story, but more and more people are thrown into prison. And ever since 9/11, and the world changed and laws changed, and all of a sudden we can just do stuff to people because there might be terrorism. Ooh, hey! As soon as that comes in, you're done. There's nothing you can do. You are now no longer part of human society. They can lock you up and throw away the key. That's what happens.
Well,
that's where we are. And our society has become so... Yeah?
Oh, I mean, Britain just used to ship them away.
Well, that's the thing. That was easier.
You go away now.
There's no one left to ship anyone, though, right? Unless we open up some asteroids.
There's just you and me.
But we are.
Says the defense, the prosecution, and the judge.
That's it. Well, what happened? That's everybody. We have gotten to the point now where the offenses we jail people for are ridiculous. There's a three-strike rule, for example. But there are other things as well, right?
Are you there, Mickey?
Being state, let's say, for argument's sake, right?
Good.
That's enough to lock you up. They got big on it, but you're threatening the security of the state. I'll see you later. The funny thing is this: the more we do this, the more people will rebel. We're seeing this everywhere. And this is what they've started. The neo-Nazis gathering in Sydney. I thought it was quite interesting that it should happen, but it's like that everywhere. It's not unique to Sydney. It's not unique to Australia. Everywhere we see a polarization. We've seen this. We see people moving to the left, moving to the right, on the spectrum, and finding comfort there, comfort and security. Right? It's better to have someone to blame than not. Much better. Of course I want to blame someone. You crazy? Of course I do. Give me someone to blame. Oh, it's not my fault. Oh, good. All right. And once you have that base of people, you polarize them sufficiently, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. And that's where we are right now. That's why people are talking about, like we have been for a long time at the Chinese side out there. That's why we are seeing similarities between now and the pre-World War II, but also pre-World War I world. We are there.
That's right.
That's us right now. Okay? We are seeing...
There's a glorious segue here when you're done.
Oh, good. What?
Oh, after you.
No. You're
Okay,
segueing,
cool.
my friend.
Well, it wasn't much of a segue if I interrupted. So anyway, I, this is in line with what you were saying, and I think this polarization in this crazy time right now we're in is actually also marked by, let's just ban the opposition party. There's an election coming up. Let's put them in jail or ban them. Because, we don't want competition so much. I don't like competition. Let's just pop them in jail, shall we? Or make it illegal for their party to run. Or fine-tooth comb their application. Oh, look, they rubbed the date out and they rewrote it correctly. That's changing it. All right. I'm not saying that this is what happened, but in Germany, it's very strange. So it says, everyone together against fascism. Protests sweep Germany after expose of AfD party's deportation master plan. Wow, that's a heavy headline. It's a very heavy headline. But what the
Agreed.
But what the plan actually means, the plan was the people who hadn't really fit in to Germany and wanted to, play ball, if they're sitting there crossed-armed, no, I'm not playing you stupid ball, right? This is socially. They just go, well, we'll just bugger you out of the country then. We'll just push you to the country border and you can't come back. Right? You don't want to play ball? Off you go. Now, from a patriotic country, it doesn't matter who you are, and I don't really mind. I'm asking this rhetorically, and that is, are there people in your society that didn't, when they came to your country, didn't kind of fit in, never tried to fit in, always complained about everything, right? It's like buying a house next to the airport, then complaining about the airport. So are there people who either by happenstance, like when Europeans had to bring a whole bunch of refugees into their countries and they didn't assimilate well, and this is the net result of having discussions about, well, what do we do about it? And I'm not saying this is great, but this is the reason why it says revelations about far-right party secret meeting rock the country to lead to widespread calls to ban controversial group. Now, it's very strange, Mickey, that it's the far-right party that is getting banned, isn't it?
Not really.
Because it's kind of historical, isn't it? There's a trend.
It's look. Any nation in the world, right, has got pretty much leeway to do whatever they want. They can, they haven't got the history that Germany does, and it is unthinkable. The things that are happening in Germany today, right, including the rise of the Alternative für Deutschland, which is the far right-wing group,
yep, and
actually winning seats in parliament, etc. Completely unthinkable when I grew up in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
It just couldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. But back then, Germany had a problem with the left and the right. In fact, most of the terrorist acts committed in Germany were done so by was something called the Rote Brigade and so forth, which were communist-inspired or socialist-inspired radicals, Baader Meinhof group, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
Germany had always struggled with the political extremes, and those groups were illegal, by the way. Okay, those groups were illegal in West Germany. You couldn't be a radical of any kind. The eye had always been very strongly focused on Nazi groups, though, which is ironic. And I tell you why it's ironic. Because most of the functionaries, most of the people that made the Nazi machine work in Germany from 1933 to 1945-ish, all went to either the United States under Operation Paperclip, or to Russia, which had no need for any code names of any kind.
We're just going to take people. That's right.
You're now living in Russia. That's what you do. So it's World War II never ended, and Germany did not. Sorry, the Nazis didn't lose World War II. Germany did. The German people sure did. They lost. I can tell you, they lost some fears. Germany was in complete ruins. So the Germans lost. Yes. The Nazi Party did not. The ideology did not. The CIA was built on the network of the Nazi spy system in Europe and elsewhere in the world.
And NASA also.
Yeah, NASA as well. Absolutely. Almost the entirety of the military-industrial complex, as it came to be known after World War II, is built on the shoulders of industrialists with very strong leanings towards Nazism or that kind of ideology, right? Those kind of connections. All of America, if you like it or not, has as its base since World War II, and a disproportionate amount of Nazis and Nazi collaborators in positions of power, both.
You're going to answer all the hate mail this week.
Oh, it's a fact. I mean, I don't tell you things that are not true.
That's right.
This is the truth.
That's right.
You can hate it as much as you can hate all you want. It's all good, right? That's why they beat the guy in Peter's Cave to death. That's all.
You didn't like the truth. That's right.
Didn't like the truth. It's okay, but that's truly where we are, right? You have to understand this, and to say otherwise is complete nonsense. All of the policies, including the neocon policies, right, under Bush Senior as well as Junior, they are all directly grown out of that ideology. Okay, and America has been colonizing the world, putting military bases everywhere, where there might be a need for them, as it were, to keep everybody in check. I mean, if you read Brzezinski, I think Brzezinski's the Grand Chessboard. He wrote that book decades ago, and he laid it all out. The whole neocon plan is laid out in the book, the Grand Chess Game or something like that.
America didn't like it when Russia was doing it.
No.
Because they got a bit too close. But if you have a look today at America's military bases around the world, it's you're what? You're everywhere.
That's not different.
I know. Exactly right. Exactly right. But remember, it only depends on whose team you're on. So,
freedom fighter and terrorist is the same person, and this is the most simple example there is in the world.
Yeah.
In the 80s, the Americans were helping the Afghanis to fight the Russians, who came in to help the Afghan government against what they were called the Mujahideen. Okay?
Yep.
Now the Mujahideen are not the same group as the Taliban. Don't make that mistake. That's not true. They're not the same group. However, the Mujahideen, which were Muslims, were seen as freedom fighters and patriots, and Americans were helping them to overthrow the Russians. And lo and behold, eventually the Russians left, defeated pretty much by the Mujahideen. Now, along comes a different time and place. And the Taliban have wrestled power in Afghanistan after the exit of the Russians, the Soviets, and they're playing ball still with America. But then they decided, we don't want to play ball with America anymore, and we're going to renege on that big pipeline we're going to let you build.
Yeah, that's why we buddied up.
Afghanistan, and also we're going to burn down the crop of poppies that we have to see. How do you like that?
Well,
and they did.
The CIA didn't like that very much.
They didn't like it one bit. And before you know it, we had 9/11, and the finger was squarely pointing at Afghanistan. Though not a single Afghan person was on the plane allegedly. Okay, not one, not even passengers.
Mickey, how on earth are you supposed to pay for all those black budget projects?
Hey, well, you can't unless you have a really good and steady income stream. See, people think that drugs are illegal because they're bad for us. Okay, so drugs used to be illegal 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Like we said before, you can go to a chemist, apothecary, I like a quart of your finest gasoline and 2 ounces of cocaine and some laudanum. Sure, why not? I'm splurging. And I'm feeling a
I have a
bit
party.
skittish, so I need some cocaine, just to calm me down. Yeah, the cocaine is the
That
right
does
thing
it.
to do.
Right, yeah.
That
No,
will do it.
some
No.
heroin. Need some heroin
Some
to
heroin.
calm me down
Just
after all
to
that
level
cocaine.
yourself out.
All right.
Yeah. So, and you go off you go. Sure, Europe, but it is actually more lucrative. Okay, so let me go. Let's unpack this. If you sell something illegally, it falls under certain regulations, okay, and standards, etc. The price is set, and it's a reasonable price normally because if it's a free market economy, there's a demand, there's a supply, it's all good, and you pay a reasonable price for whatever it is that you're buying. Mostly, not always, but mostly. But imagine, and we saw this during the Prohibition. Don't forget, people used to pay astronomical amounts of money for alcohol because it was illegal. That's when they learned it, by the way. They go, oh, shoot, we made alcohol illegal. We could make a fortune here. And they were making a fortune.
After Prohibition, hey, Fat Tony.
Because alcohol, people were...
How long is it going to take you to get alcohol back in this town? 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. The thing is, like, people had bars and pubs and etc., saloons, and they would drink, and people would make a living. People didn't become gazillionaires by selling alcohol. They didn't. It was a good living, sure, right? But, it wasn't like enormous amounts of money made. But during Prohibition, and that's why gangsters became interested, because there was so much money in it.
That's
okay?
right.
So much money.
In England, it was the
because it was
same.
forbidden.
Yeah, in England, it was the same.
Yeah, the risk.
They were brewing their own alcohol and selling it on the sly.
Yeah, that didn't
Through
go
holes in the wall. Do you know that?
Yeah. Well, and again, it was not state control, right? So it was illegal, but the risk factor makes it more expensive. It's the same with drugs.
Yeah.
Now that you're controlling all these drugs, and some drugs are controlled because they don't want you to take them, because these are substances that could open gateways for you, doorways, if you know what you're doing and if you get the right help with it. So I'm not advocating it. Don't do it, right? But there are drugs that do that for you. Like ayahuasca is one of them. So, but now all drugs are illegal now. Boom. And the key thing here is, hemp was a massive competitor to cotton. And in fact, hemp was used for all of the ropes during the sailing times.
That's
in fact,
right.
the government had a law that says farmers had to plant a certain amount of hemp, so they have enough ropes for all their ships in Great Britain, for example. Right? It was a legal requirement for you to grow hemp. But then cotton came along and had a stronger lobby, etc., etc.
And
hemp became, of course, hemp is marijuana.
That's right. So nylon from DuPont. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. I'm still a strong proponent that it was DuPont's doing that was the final nail in the hemp coffin that shut it down.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Whoever had the stronger lobby would win.
Oh, of course.
And so you make marijuana illegal as well. Now we know we've always known, but we know now again that marijuana is actually quite a good therapeutic drug for pain control, etc., right? And some chronic conditions. So it's actually not a bad medicine, as it were. And that's why we're seeing a sort of loosening of the rules here. But so all psychoactive substances were made illegal, and for the CIA, I guess it was fairly new at the time. This was a fantastic way to make money, because they had learned. The British tried it during the Opium Wars as well. They took the whole population. They tried to addict the entire population of China to opium. There's quite a few people already addicted, but how much easier is it to control a population if they're all addicted? And how much how many more people would actually take it if it were illegal? Because there's this element of risk, especially for younger people, teenagers, etc. And you could make a lot more money. And also, there's no quality control. You can put glass into your hair if you really want to. Okay, it's like no quality control. And
I think the quality control, Mick, is the thing that I don't like the most. And while I don't have 100% trust in Big Pharma, that's all I'm going to say. I would prefer that their quality control measures were there to make I don't know what they call them, MDMA and LSD, for instance, those that were known, colloquially known as party drugs, and to formally allow marijuana to be sold as well as those others, because I think we have the mechanisms in place. And the last thing I would want one of my kids to do was make the last choice of their life by choosing a drug that was manufactured in someone's garage without any quality control mechanisms, right? Either for dosage or the chemicals that were actually in it. And so that's where I put my foot down on this. I'm not advocating for it, but I believe as safe as the aspirins and the Panadols are for us to be able to take en masse across the planet because they're controlled, I believe those same controls should be there for our children. And if we see anything from the 60s use of these drugs, where I think entrepreneurs, inventions, like I said, creations, and people were there with their ideas with a no ceiling, and were able to innovate and do some things. So given the experiments in Montauk with LSD-25, with the greatest minds on the planet, where they were not only able to solve they were invited to attend, take the drugs, and then try and work on these problems that they'd had in their drawer for so long. Not only do they solve those, they created brand new things as a result as well. So they were tremendously successful. Now, as opening your mind, like I said, I'm not. What was his name? Stephen Lear? No, the other one. When he died, they ejected him. Timothy Leary. That's right. Friend of Sid and Marty Krofft. If you watch those children's shows, you'll really get that connection. I'm not being Timothy Leary here. I'm just saying I believe that they should be made legal, and they should still be controlled to a certain extent, right? But not eliminated. I think when you try to eliminate it, it's a fool's errand. You're chasing ghosts. You can never really shut the whole thing down. But if you made it unrealistically cheap, then the people who are currently importing it illegally and producing it somewhere else, they can't make the money on it. There isn't money to be made if it's being made by Big Pharma. So the way to do it is to bankrupt the criminal organizations. I suppose what they're really doing now is, lining us up for a digital currency where you can't buy anything unless you're using digital currency, and then they can trace everything. So I think maybe they've come at it from the other perspective.
Oh, but see, we now have cryptocurrency, right? Bitcoin,
Yeah.
et cetera, which we sort of put a spanner in the works there, which is interesting. So there's always a way around total control from that point of view, unless they want total control. If the parasites decide, no, we want total control, they'll have it. But there still needs to be a narrative that says, no, we're fighting the bad guys, the war on drugs, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? Now, let's be very clear here. There's a way to end the drug epidemic. In fact, most of the drug issues that America has today, especially, I'm talking about America here, right?
And fentanyl.
That's exactly right. It's a completely self-inflicted kind of thing where doctors were over-prescribing painkillers. Now, they were rewarded to do that, and that's the same kind of moral and ethical bankruptcy that led to the 2008 collapse of the housing market, and etc. we're rewarding great. Because these doctors got a bonus if they sold more of their painkiller, right? And the more you go, more, more. Oh yeah, this will help with everything. This is a panacea for it. No, it's not. It's a highly addictive painkiller. Oh no, it's not true. And the thing is this: the people that make the drug, the family, has now been found guilty of well, sorry, that's too strong a word. They are now acknowledged to have been guilty of false advertising and false information. Right, so this was a highly addictive drug. They said no, not at all. But you know what? No punishment. This is one of the richest families in America, right? That own these pharmaceutical concerns. No punishment. Okay, but it's not their fault. Yes, it is their fault. Absolutely, it's great, and it's the doctor's fault. Great.
Look how much balance we just provided, Mickey, in these stories. That's great. So, No, I mean it. We covered both sides of the same of a coin, right? Of a coin, not the same coin, but at least one. Maybe digital currency. So, where it leaves me, Mickey, is a very peculiar place, I suppose. As far as, I'm not going to talk about the war on drugs, but where we're at, because fentanyl is being, imported and sent around the world. That's right. Have you ever been to the doctor and he's given you a sample packet of something, which clearly came?
I have not.
I have,
but I know people have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he goes, "Look, these have just come in. If you'd like to, why don't you tell me how they go for your problem?" Okay, I'll let you know. It's like at the time I thought, wow, I'm cutting loose on this. This is great. Whatever it is, I'll try it. Right? I'll be the first. Clearly, it had already had clinical trials. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a sample packet of it. And whether or not they worked or not is irrelevant. But the fact that I didn't know free. So that was good. I accepted them for that. So because they were free, it means I didn't buy them. And if you don't buy something, then you have less recourse if something goes wrong. Because I accepted them.
Well, that's true.
All right. And so, look, sure, it's an expert telling me I should probably do that, probably try these, but still at the same time, I was on a program of that lizard venom, which I've stopped because I started doing research as more information was coming to hand. It was tremendous at stopping my appetite. This lizard venom from the Komodo dragon or something, Komodo dragon. But I'll tell you, I wasn't allowed to undergo any surgery until I was off it for a certain amount of days. And I started looking into it. I went, wow, that's really, really interesting. So it really does mess you up. And I'm back to normal again now, thank you, whoever made that up. But I thought it was interesting, and I was religious in injecting myself with this stuff. So I don't mean I had religious experiences. I mean, I kept to the schedule. I never missed a day. And
no, we understand.
and yet, I had to sign up to that trial. And when the doctor the professor said to me, "How are you doing?" And I said, I quit it and I haven't been back. Oh, okay, why? And I told him the reasons. And he goes, yeah, fair enough. That was it. I don't think you filled any forms in or anything. He might have written a cleverly written letter or something. I don't know, filled something in online outside of my presence, but unlucky it wasn't fentanyl. Right. So I feel sorry for all those people who are on a drug that they can't get off, and it ruins their lives. And we've all seen what the streets of Philadelphia are like now.
Oh, yeah. This is the thing, though. Right? I mean, this is hitting middle America. I mean, soccer moms. Right?
Yeah.
It's so cliche. It's painful.
Movie
And-
stars, Becky.
Again, yeah, we have an economy, an illicit economy by regular standards, that is so lucrative that it will never go away. It just won't. You can't. Why would it? It's insane. I mean, in fact, apparently, I heard people tell me that Wall Street is largely underwritten by drug money, because you have to clean this stuff somehow, right?
Oh, of course.
And Wall Street and the share market and all of these things that are happening, they are so convoluted and hard to get to the bottom of, as we saw in 2008, by the way. And that wasn't so hard, really, if you thought about it just for a second, that you can make all kinds of money disappear and change hands and make it clean again. Okay? And again, the funny thing is, this is relevant because it's completely irrelevant, because all of that money doesn't actually exist. It's fantasy. And we get so focused on it that I reckon the biggest chunk of our attention and our ability to think about stuff and focus is taken up by things that are completely pointless, such as money, right? Which is not a real thing anyway.
Yeah.
And I know people don't like to hear it, because I've seen other people say it on TV and in news interviews and such, and they could see it in the face of the interviewer. That, I mean, it was just it was priceless to see those expressions of the people that all of a sudden their whole world had been shattered. But it's like telling it like a 3-year-old there's no Santa Claus, right? Which of course is incorrect. There's a Santa Claus, because if you're living in an infinite universe, there's a Santa Claus somewhere. But we are only scratching the surface of the problems here. Everything is a distraction, and it's designed, and we'll talk about this in the second hour. It's designed to make you look the other way, or in fact, anywhere but where you need to look. There's no one behind the curtain, right, Dave? No one there.
Yes.
No curtain. In fact, there's no curtain. There's no curtain.
I know there's no spoon. So I woke up this morning and they were having reruns of Gladiators to a new time slot in the morning. And it's, what? I thought this was on at night. It was in prime time at night. And they're just replaying it in the morning now. But they really want this thing to work. They really want it to work. And I just think that, I mean, I say it all the time. You know, keep them fed and entertained. I'm sure they're butchering it, but that's where I feel we're at. And it's hard to have an attention span in the instantaneous world of gratification. The attention span. Oh, that's right. Front Up was the SBS show where this fellow used to walk around and talk to people on the street. And the amount of words in a row that people could say before taking a breath was extraordinary. And the points they were making, I dare say you'd never find people today with that same capability on the street. I think we've lost a tremendous skill, Mackie, and that is the construction of perfectly formed sentences and ideas, and the conveyance of these ideas, and the understanding and reception of them by counterparts in our society. It doesn't matter who you are.
I think you're right. The ability to formulate intelligible ideas and then communicate them in a way that is understood by others. Not necessarily agreed on. It doesn't matter, but at least understood, is critical for the functioning of a well-rounded society. There's the music.
Precisely. And look, this is the end of the first hour. We're going to have a small break, and we'll be back after the small break for possibly the final show in our Hypothesis and the Epiphany. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, do like, share, and subscribe, and catch the next video clip.